Stay ahead with our expert analysis. And open your YouTube app, click the search bar and type GMEB TV. Open the channel and click subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out from in-depth coverage of education, business insights, or the latest in sports. We bring you the stories that matters the most and news that saves our nation. GMEB TV, bringing the Gambia to your screen.
Greetings, wonderful viewers. I am your host, Abdul Koma, and this is the Writer's Soul, live on Gmeb TV. Yes, this Writer's Soul will bring you intellectual young Gambians that have diverse fields in literature, and they will come and tell us the importance of writing, of course, some of the predicaments in writing, and how really the government of this country can help writers in virtue of literature. So with me here is an intelligent interlude. He is our invited guest for today, Mr. Sidibe. He is currently the president of the Writers Association University of the Gambia. He is an author of The Dandruff. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Sidibe. Please tell the viewers who really is Mr. Sidibe, the magnetic poet.
Greetings, good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, it's an honor to be here, to be among the first guests, if not the first guest, in this important show called Writer's Soul. Precisely, Mr. Sidibe or Mohamed Sidibe is a frustratingly gifted Gambian young man who hails from Gmeb village in Kantora district, Upper River region. So, precisely to make the story short, I sat my grade 12 in 2015 and later to Gambia College 2016 to 2019, of which I did or pursued advanced diploma secondary, where I specialized in English language and SES. And from there, I went back to teaching, that is from 2019 to 2022. I taught at Nasir Ahmadiyya Upper Basic and Senior Secondary School. I spent I think 3 years there as a teacher of English. And later, when I resumed, that is come back to the course here in Combo, I started my university program, still pursuing and majoring English language. But the minor is yet to be confirmed, though. Precisely what I do, I've been writing a lot of poems, articles that are published by the Gambia's notable newspapers, that is the Standard and the Point newspaper. So precisely, I don't want to go deeper, but I think this is sufficient. Just know that I am a writer and I'm a poet, both spoken word artist as well as a written word. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sidibe. It's really a pleasure to have a magnificent, such an eloquent, prolific writer. Yes, Mr. Sidibe, the first question to you today is, when do you start writing? At what age do you start writing?
Thank you, Mr. Koma. I think that's a very important question. I remember I started writing when I was 15. Yeah, I think when I was in grade 10. Yeah, I started writing because I remember I was the correspondent for the science club, even though I was an art student. Yeah, the science club, their correspondence, I was their correspondent. We are the first people to introduce the sport reporting. So every Friday I would be on stage to give news on sport issues, that is both national sport as well as international sport. So precisely I would say I started writing when I was 15. But effective writing started when I was, let's just say in 2015. Yeah, so I started effective writing in 2015. So precisely, if you ask when I started writing, that would be when I was 15.
Wonderful. Meanwhile, Mr. Sidibe, you started writing at a very early age. That really is really a gift from God. Writing at a very early age and really growing up as a prolific writer and I have a lot of people back there who want to be like Mr. Sidibe. Thank you so much, Mr. Sidibe. And the second question is, what are the challenges do you have as a writer? We believe that every writer has challenges, and not only writing, in every sector that you engage in life, in every corner, there are hurdles and predicaments. So really, what are the challenges do you have as a writer?
All right. As a writer, just like any other profession, I think challenges exist, but the most important thing is how we intend to overcome those challenges. Every profession that you think of, there are challenges. Not everything that you see is all rosy. So precisely, my challenges are as follows. There are many, but I'm just going to highlight few. And I think so many writers will subscribe to some of these points. Let's start with the financial inducement. The writer, and you want to use that as your primary goal, that I want to write because of money. I think in the Gambia, it is not the right place to do that for now, because the monetary inducement is not encouraging. A writer is a lonely person. A writer does so many things by himself. Sometimes you look for sponsors for your programs. You write to different institutions. If you are lucky, if they respond to you, then thank God. Those that will be ready to sponsor you, it means they also have perhaps they have a lot of interest in it. That is, they're going to get some profits or so. So otherwise, for people to willfully sponsor you as a writer, it's very difficult. So the monetary inducement is not good. And as a writer, you should not use that as a primary goal. Otherwise, I'm sorry, if you're Gambian, it will be very difficult for you to make headways in that regard. The other thing is, as a writer, distraction is another thing. And when I say distraction, I think most writers face this. The distraction can be viewed differently. It can be, for example, sometimes when you want to write something, while you started, jotting down your points, that the distraction can come whether naturally or from human making. Yes, if it is naturally, something can happen and you have to stop that writing. And as a writer, that's a challenge. And sometimes it could be human being. How do human beings distract you? They can distract you in different ways. There are some people, when you write something, especially when you are a novice, when you are a newcomer in this writing field, they look at the negatives over the positive, that everything is bad. This is substandard. This is trash. And my friend, all these good speakers, all these brilliant speakers, all these brilliant writers, those who are famed, these famous writers, they did not, already have everything intact when they were young. They worked hard. Over time, they became what they became. So precisely, writing is a process. And for you to get to that level, you have to write nonsense first. And you should also learn. You should learn to accept criticism. But these are all important things that as a writer you should remember. So I'm going to highlight this maybe later in the program. But precisely, my challenges, as I said, there are many. Distraction can come in different ways. You want to write something, and as a writer, we write, in fact, even when people are not writing. I don't know whether you understand by this point. We write when we are not writing. Because writer, wherever you go, when you listen to someone might say something. And that will sound something very important to you. You take your pen, you write. And that information that you got from that person can inspire you to write any other thing, whether a story, a novel, whether any other literary work. So that's why I said we write when we are not writing. Even when you are alone, something will pop into your mind. And all of a sudden, get up, take your pen, and you jot it down. So, but distraction can hinder this. And as I said, distraction can come in different ways. It can be based on criticism and other things. So there are a lot of challenges in industry, even the marketing. If you don't know how to do it, the online marketing. Most writers, they write, sorry to say, but they don't want to go digital. And we're in a digital world. Okay, we have moved from analog to digital world. So as a writer, you have to learn. Even if you don't know how to do this, you can consult people who are expert when it comes to the technology, because you have to explore the online. There are websites that you can use to get what we call passive income. Okay, among them we have Upwork. People are getting money through Amazon, but all these things you have to understand the methodology, the strategy. So these are things that are very important as a writer. But as I said, distraction can hinder all these. Okay? Yes, this fear, I used to have fear. But now I don't think so. I do have a lot of fear when I'm writing. And as a writer, you need to have that guts, the audacity to say something. Yes, some people, they have brilliant ideas, but they will not say it because they are afraid that people will criticize them, people will insult them. And we learn from literary point of view that so many great writers were only celebrated when they died. Their works were visible because their works were visible only when they died. Why? Because they were scared, that people would do this to them because they have something to say. So as a writer, you need to have that audacity to say something. Okay? You don't expect everybody to subscribe to your argument or so. You are a human being and you are liable to make mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mohamed Sidibe. It was a very important and instrumental point. Yes, I think every writer here will prescribe to your point, because I think financial issues is one of the biggest problems Gambian writers face. The support is really lacking in this country. Not only a distraction is a key factor; it can come in different ways. So writers will be very careful when it comes to distraction. It can really lead you to be in a very bloom way to write. So I think this will be a lesson to writers, upcoming young people. They will understand, yes, it's going to be difficult. When you start, you will get stuck at some point and you will fall down, but you need courage and determination to push you through. So those are very important points. I think we'll come to that, some of the ways the government can really use and help the writers in this country. Because observing the literature of Gambia and with other countries is different. The support is very, very different. So we'll come to that, and we will delve deeper into that question too. So the third question to you, Mr. Sidibe, is what are some of the importance of writing? Why should people write?
That's a loaded one. It's a loaded question, but I love the question. Mr. Kuma, writing is huge. The importance of writing is immeasurable. You cannot measure the importance, because creativity began, centuries ago. But when you look at writing, others will tell you it started from symbols. People were using symbols in those days to communicate before alphabets, orthography, and other things were introduced over time. So the importance of writing, let's look at it from different angles. We are all students from different schools. The cameramen here, they are all students from different schools. I will call them schools, because for them to get to the level that they are right now, my friend, they must have read from a particular school of thought. And that particular school of thought, when they were doing those courses, they used what? Writers. Writers from authors that specialize in those areas. All right? So writing, whatever we do, we need writing. Now let's look at writing from historical point of view. In fact, they will tell you there are 3 types of history. For example, the oral history, I can still remember these things. We have what we call the written record. We also have and the ancient remains. Thank you so very much. Now, when you look at the written record, historians will tell us that it is the best form of history. Why? But they also said, provided that it is well written. Yes, we have to use.
Most of our viewers here will remember that branches of history.
Sure, absolutely. So, written record is meant for posterity, for the future generation. Because when you write something, it does not get old. If you go to the archives right now, at National Center for Arts and Culture, even 19 something something. If you just go there, Mr. Hassan Sise will direct you. All right, you've seen this during the TRRC's hearing. SFR would know. They dug into the archives of Gambian matters, some of the newspapers, even the April 2000, that protest and other things. All right, so writing guides. A government cannot operate without writing. Why information is so important that for you to have that success in whatever you do, you need that flow of information. And how do you make that flow of information to sail through? Most of the time, especially in formal setup, it is through writing. Right? So for you to learn in anything, as I said, whether technology that everybody is talking about is through writing. Because when you look at the technology, of course they deal with binary, zeros and ones more, but they translate those things into letters. So you use those writers. Call them whatever, but it's still writing. Because writing is so general. That's why we have different, fields when it comes to writing. People specialize in different areas. There are others who are only interested in what we call the fictional aspect. There are others who are only interested in the non-fictional aspect, and the list goes on. Now let's look at the religious point of view. If you look at the country, for example, the Gambia, most of us are either Christians or Muslims. And we subscribe to two very important books. For the Muslims, we call it the Holy Quran. And for the Christians, we call it the Holy Bible. All right? And all these important documents, all these important books are in written forms. The Quran, if you study literature anywhere, they will tell you it is the best form of literature. Because all what we're doing at schools, we have all those things in the Holy Quran. And so as in the Bible. We are talking about all the literary devices. You can just say knowledge-wise. Well, I don't know what it is. But all the techniques that authors use in their books, my friend, we have them in Quran. Yes. It's just that we cannot detect. So precisely the book that we subscribe, because we believe that the Quran should guide our action. And we believe that the Quran is what? It involves the state of the mind. All right? And that state of the mind, they said what? The Quran tells us about the state of the mind of God, or as we tell you. So precisely the Quran that deals with writing. All right? It's a written document. And so as the Holy Bible, there are a lot of moral lessons, what we call didactic stuff in literature. Anything that morality also, we call it didactic. So when it is poetry, we call it didactic, poem, didactic, novels, and the list goes on. So you can see from religious point of view, the ones, because we all take pride that I am this, I am a Muslim, I am a Christian. And those books that we read, as I said, they are written documents. All right? We have the constitution of this country. The Gambia is using written constitution. Okay? And the constitution too is another written document. I remember if you look at the introductory aspect, the preamble of the constitution, it states something like, I don't know, any other, this constitution is the supreme law of the land. And any other law found within inconsistent so and so shall be considered void. What that language tries to tell us is that the constitution, any law that does not match, any law that does not subscribe with what our constitution says, that particular document is considered null and void. Solve it aside. All right? And when we say something is the supreme law of the land, meaning it's the highest document of the land. And that too is another written document. It is written by writers. Call them whatever writers, whether constitutionalists or whatever, they are writers. All right?
Yeah.
All right? So a human being, in fact, cannot exist without writing. Otherwise, we'll be living in a blind society.
Absolutely.
So precisely, I can sit here and talk about the importance of writing. When you have your phone, in fact, what you are reading through here is through written. You use alphabet, you join them together. Those ones are making words, and they are using those things to ask questions. So I think the importance of writing cannot be overemphasized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sidibe. And I'm sure the viewers are massively learning today because you have an intellectual young man here, really. Like you said, Mr. Sidibe, writing cannot be overemphasized. The importance of writing cannot be overemphasized. The world will not even have lived today The modern world will not have work today if not the involvement of literature. So really, that is an important point. We must know writing is a central pillar of our survival. So without writers, we cannot live, and we must embrace them at whatever point. That is very important, and I hope the viewers will learn from that. The writing is very important. We must always write. Let's write to really evolve the lives of people. Let's write to solve the problems of society, because it's only writing that you can be able to solve problems. It's only through writing that you can be able to know problems and outline solutions. So the importance cannot be overemphasized. The fourth question is, Mr. Sidibe, what opportunities are left in the writing world or in the literary world? Let me just maybe trim this, like, what opportunities are left in the field of writing for Gambian writers? What are the opportunities are left for Gambian writers? I don't know if you really understand my question.
Thank you once again, Mr. Koma, for that brilliant question. Since you narrowed down the question to the Gambia alone, I would say already there are opportunities. And of course, there are more opportunities. When I said already there are opportunities, let me look at the print media. Here I mean the newspapers. For example, the Standard newspaper, the Point newspaper, the Daily Observer, Foreign newspaper. So if your newspaper is not mentioned, I hope you will understand. Huh? Anyway, so if you look at these newspapers, we have writers. These are all people that are employed. They have their reporters that they will send on the ground to take important information so that they can report. They have their editors in chief, or what we call their editors precisely. So as a writer, when you are a journalist, that serves as an employment already, because all journalists, most of the journalists are employed. These people are writers. That's why I said writing is so general. All right? Journalists are writers. That's why they are encouraged to read a lot, because a good writer should be a well-read person. All right? So when you look at the editors, they are employed people of those newspapers. So already it means those are opportunities. When you look at correspondences, or what we call, let's just say the IPROs, okay, the communication officers of institutions, writers are there. Those who normally, send their information for public consumption, those people are writers. So already there is an opportunity for writers.
I would like to come there, Mr.
Yes.
Some writers believe that the opportunities in this country is very less. When really going into the deep of literature, you see in this country, people get only interested when you launch your book. For example, you launch your book for maybe yesterday. That is the only time, within that range of time, your book is very famous. It becomes everybody knows about that. Dandruff is written by Mohamed Sidibe. But after the launching, really, after people don't get to hear about dandruff. So those are all problems, really, the writers are facing. For me, a book is something that is it's not celebrated only on today. It's something that should be really celebrated for the rest of our lives. Because you as a writer, you know what you have written. So it has impact in society. So this concern really is stopping some writers. What do you have to say to that?
Thank you for that observation. I was even going there. I was just trying to hit the first aspect of the question and take some steps forward. And I love that you raised it up. And this is very important. You are very right. You cited a very good example, because especially in Gambia here, launching books, after that launching, you don't hear anything else. The problem is, that's why I said we have to move from analog to digital. We are living in a digital world. You can use technology to have what we call more visibility. There are good websites. Some websites they will not charge you anything. Just make sure you follow protocols. And among those websites, I highlighted Upwork, for example. You even or Kyoto. And this thing that is Amazon, very common, globally recognized.
If you want to know that.
Now the problem is in that Amazon tool, as a self-publisher, most authors really don't know how to promote their material. As a writer, you should know how to promote your book. You have to know how to promote your literary work. Promotion ranges from different aspects. It can be from the professional cover picture that you use to a book. How consistent do you make videos for people to know more about your book? So you have to be good when it comes to promotion. Some will only upload their work on Amazon, and in the end, that's the end of it. They don't get any money.
They don't do any advancements.
Okay? They don't follow other things. And at Amazon, you can get what we call passive income, as I said. Okay? And all these things, when a book is published on Amazon, that is the step that most Gambians should take further. I know some people are not even, they don't have any idea about Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's very important. That's why you should take that step forward. You publish your book on Amazon. When it is published on Amazon, it becomes a global property instead of it being considered just a national one. Because when it is on Amazon, even 100 years later when you die, my friend, any other person that comes will know really that Mohammed Sidibe is the one who authored this.
2013, 2014.
Fantastic. So this is so important as an author. So we can take a step forward, that is publishing our work on Amazon. And secondly, as I said, you should know how to promote your material as an author. Now let me give you this good analogy or anecdote, if you want to call it.
Okay.
You see, sometimes a so-called lesser writer or a so-called inferior writer will be making money on Amazon. All right? And a so-called seasoned or experienced writer
will
not be making any money.
That is really hilarious.
And sometimes what will happen is that so-called experienced writer will say, why? Come on. This person, this trust here and there is making money. I'm not making money. But the problem that we have...
You understand the world of technology and you are still living in the analog world.
Fantastic. So the problem simply is sometimes as writers we have ego. And to be honest with you, as a writer that is savvy, a savvy writer would put his ego aside and ask the question, why? Why is so and so making money on Amazon or any other website and I'm not making money? Yes, very important. But sometimes as a writer, because you believe that you are a better writer than him or her, and because of that, you don't want to ask him. You see, knowledge is deep. Maybe he or she knows something, he or she is exploring something that the people want, and that's why people are buying his or her. But you are not exploring that, and because of that, you are not doing well. So all these are problems. It is not only publishing it on Amazon. You should know how to promote your book, the branding. Okay? You should know, as I said, the branding, the promotion, the professional cover picture that you use. You have to monitor the website. What do people want? You listen to Amazon. Amazon will even guide you what people want, what you need to do to get more visibility. Because so many authors, their problem is visibility. They are brilliant writers, but they are only visible when they die. And this is very sad.
And what really is the cause of that? How can you be a great writer and you only people get to understand your work when you died, Mr. Sidibe?
Well, I think there are different factors. It's not only one. Number one, sometimes, as I highlighted before, that is, if you are technologically weak or somebody who is not technologically, you are not familiar with technology or so, that can cause it. Another thing is sometimes sponsorship. All right? You need to understand the connection. You know, as a writer, connect with these big businessmen or so. When they are conducting programs that are very thin that you think people always watch or people always listen or so, at least once in a while they can advertise your material. That can help you when it comes to visibility. But like you wrote something, and after writing that thing, you leave it there, you don't know where to go. Like right now, I'm here on TV. So many people will get access to do this.
Yes.
There are other brilliant Gambians maybe
They don't have access.
They don't have that access to come here.
But that doesn't mean they are not really adequate.
They are not adequate.
What they're doing.
Right?
But it's because of the connection.
Connection, and also that's why I said promotion. You should know how to promote your literary work. Otherwise, nature can strike, or the force of nature can strike. And unfortunately, when you die, for example, later people will realize that, oh, he's the one who did this, he's the one who wrote this. So you see, it's a sad reality in the literary world that some people, so many authors, only get realized when they die, right? And or their work get realized when they die. So it is a sad reality, as I said.
Wow, this is a very interesting, really. So you have great people that really work so hard for their efforts, but they don't really realize. It's only after that people get to understand that he is this kind of writer. So like Mr. Sidiba alluded, we are living in a world of technology. If you are a young writer and you are watching us live, please live that life of analog and come to the digital world. Stay away from pride and get to understand, connect with people, then you can realize your potentials if you really want to succeed in life. So these are very important points that young writers need to hear this. You can be struggling, every day in the night writing, but you need a connection. You need a digital world to expose you, and your works can become memorable, and even after death. So these are very important strategies that we should really endeavor to prioritize. The next question is, Sasidibe, I realize in this country, we said writers should not talk about politics. That writers are very centered on writing about pressing issues. And I think pressing issues, politics is part of pressing issues in our generation. But people believe that writers should really stay out or stay away from talking about politics or writing about politics. So is that a fundamental law in literature, or is a fundamental law that writers should not write about politics? Please make the audience understand this, and viewers rather, so that they will know what really is your take on it.
All right, thank you for this question too. It's another important question, and I hope you'll also learn. Everybody will learn after responding to the question, God willing. Now, first and foremost, when you look at politics from general point of view, politics is all about, having the need to lead an organization, to lead any other association. It's all about having an organization. You organize yourself, you have a leader, set up a methodology to use a leader to take in charge of your affairs. And when you are doing that, a society is all about that one. Every society will need a leader. All right? From a leader, and the list goes on. That's why we have the head of the compound, landlord, we call it also. We also have chiefs, alcalos, and the list goes on up to the president or the president. So to answer your question, for me, yes, writers should be involved in politics. If you're a writer and you don't want to be involved in politics, for me, I think that's my opinion. Call it whatever. You are a dishonest writer.
Yeah, people watching.
Yes. I will call you a dishonest writer. Why? Because when you look at politics, what I mean, you have to be involved in politics. I have to be clear here. You just have to be mature and know what to write and how to write. Now, in literature, as you highlighted, I'm going to give you some references. We're going to start with, let's use Animal Farm. Animal Farm, written by George Orwell. And that Animal Farm, very interesting story. We call it in literature novella. People always mix novella for novel. They are not the same. Yeah, so novella is different. It's just longer than short story or shorter than a novel. Now, precisely, when you look at that Animal Farm, George Orwell uses animals to depict what leaders or what human beings do. Who do you think George Orwell was referring to? He was trying to caricature. It is what we call satire in literature. He was just trying to caricature, to make mockery, because I don't want to be so technical here. Caricature, just to make mockery or make fun of the USSR, that is the Soviet Union, like Russia, Soviet Union. In those days, we had the Soviet Union. The leadership that was there, and the way they were leading. But he did not mention anyone's name. He uses animals.
Describe.
All right? To depict their attitude or their characters. That is what they used to do or what they do. Now, how did he use that one? That is technical in literature, very important. We call it fable, like he used animals or so to talk about, to depict human character. He had, donkey, and this goes on. Squealer, the one who was manipulating information. All animals are equal. But later, because of Squealer, we have those kind of leaders in our institution. Squealer went ahead and narrowed that one. That was the first rule, was all animals are equal. But he went ahead. Don't just drop something. He said, yes, but some animals are more equal than others. The first law was all animals are equal. But later, Squealer went ahead because he was their IPR, let me call it that way, their information minister. He went because the people now that took in charge, animal farm is all about animals were angry because their owner, the one who was in charge of their affairs, was not doing well. They were angry. Those who led that revolution betrayed them. All right? All Major was among them, but All Major died. He had great intention. But Napoleon and others betrayed the animals because they told them that they want to do this revolution to fight for their rights, the rights of the animals. But later, when Napoleon and others started leaking that honey, or that honey if you want to, they started forgetting about the lesser animal. And they were manipulating, busy changing the constitution, we call the law. Things that favor them, they narrow it down, they lit some of them. When I mean lit here, they narrow or they reduce some of these laws. Like I said, the other one was just all animals are equal. But the Squealer, their information minister, went ahead and says, well, but some animals are more equal than others. Meaning, allowing corruption to take precedent. And the list goes on. That's just an example. The writer there, George Orwell, did not mention the leader of that Soviet Union. He did not mention any person's name, but he uses animals. All Major, as I said, Napoleon. But when you read that story, you know exactly this is happening. Or this was what was happening in the Soviet Union, USSR. All right? So that is a technical aspect that a writer can employ. Whether you like it or not, that story, that book, is a political story. We call it political novel. All right? In fact, it's still among the specified texts for Gabesi. This year would be the last one for the literature, because in literature, every 5 years, they change the novels that are recommended, all right? Now, from Animal Farm, let's look at this other book. That one is just Senegal here. That Aminata, so far, what is the book again? The Beggar Strike, all right? Now, if you look at that book too, The Beggar Strike is an interesting book. It's a novel.
I think we should really employ young writers to really read books, right?
Yes, of course.
Because it's only to read that you can understand from it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if you look at that Beggar Strike, Aminata Sofal, what he did there is so surprising. Look at the title, The Beggar Strike. We don't expect beggars to strike.
Absolutely.
Yes, but the title itself is an irony. Like, we don't expect. That's why it's an irony. No, but if you look at the book, you see beggars striking for a particular reason. We see politicians and their inordinate desire, like politicians that are great for power. Mm-hmm. Initially, they thought beggars were just useless being in the society. Now they were sending them away because they believe that when tourists visit Dakar, for them to see beggars, begging in the streets would send some tourists away. Now, because of that, Murnjai and his assistant Kebadawa, what they did there is they were clearing, fighting beggars. There was a crackdown on beggars, and that affected a lot of beggars. At some point, beggars were angry because all the time beggars were molested. So what happened? Beggars now, they said they are going to strike. They had a unified team. All right? So when they had that strike, they were surprised. And later, a Marabo told the leader of that government, the one who was responsible for that one, that is Moria, that, well, if you want to, because his ambition was ever to become a vice president. And one Marabo told him that for you to become a vice president, you have to keep making your boss happy. One day, your boss will return, all that. All right? So precisely when that happened, that was his inordinate desire to become a vice president. So that's why he was hard on beggars. And let us beggars also started having protests, or what we call sit-down strike. And ultimately what happened is, when people want to give something to beggars, they will not have it. That's why one of the beggars was saying that, my friend, you give us charity because of reasons. You have your reasons. You give us those coins or so because you want our prayers. Because you are up to something. Somebody says, give this to a beggar. Yes, you need them in the society, beggars. So in that story, what Aminata Sofal did there, of course, she uses Senegalese names that we can be familiar with. But he did not mention directly that this president, any president that Senegal had, there was no president whose name was mentioned there. But if you read that story, the moral lesson is every human being is important in the society. When the beggars started striking, and now it affected the ambition of that man who was putting cry, the man, let me just say, Muriel. Because the Marabout told him, for you to become this, you have to kill this particular bull here and there, you understand, to the beggars. So he went back to the street, he could not find any beggar. So that was so stressful. So in that story, that's that is the beggar story. It's also something political. Because if you look at the story, you see how politicians dig their greed for power. Like when they want something, what they do, to what extent can they explore? Or to what extent will they do to achieve whatever they want? And after having their interest, how they behave. We've seen politicians before assuming power, and after assuming power, some of them, I'm sorry, they behave like people that are suffering from amnesia, easily forget. Okay, so we can see all these things. And in the book, that's why I love reading novels. When you read novels, you get to understand society better. You get to understand human psyche. There are some people, you just need to understand their body language. They don't need to say anything, you understand them. Okay, and these characters are all depicted in books. So precisely there too, we are seeing politics depicted in that book. In fact, for a writer to be honest, as I said, you have to be involved in politics. How about there is something that is so bad happening in your country, and you are keeping quiet, and you call yourself a writer? What are you doing?
That's really.
And Edmund Burke once said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. You are seeing something that is bad, evil in your society, you are keeping quiet. He said, if you see any time evil is taking precedence over a good thing, it's because good people are keeping quiet, they are not doing anything. So precisely, yes, writers should be involved in politics. Let's just be macho. You don't need to mention President Barrow, you are this. You can describe, you can use a metaphor, even without mentioning President Barrow's name. I can even call this government, or I can just generalize governments of commission in Africa. People will just decide by themselves who you are to. You don't need to mention names. Just be technical in your metaphors, and you are good to go. Nobody can charge you. Nobody can, arrest you because of those things. But some of us, our problem also is there are some writers that will mention names directly, and I think sometimes that's unfair. Some of our criticisms too. I think unfair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sidibe, for this brainstorming exercise. This is really intellectually creative, and I'm so our viewers learn massively from this. Let me just make some analysis of Mr. Sidibe's last pronouncements. Like, yes, beggars also have a role to play in society. I don't think the reason why they want to really neglect them because they think they have no rights and their contribution in society is not of value. But then the time they realize that they should give charity to the beggars, that was the time they know the importance of beggars. So this is a lesson that we are all created equal, and we all have the same rights, despite our status, despite our efforts. Although that is really unbalanced, that is the creation of God. Our opportunities can never be equal, but we should learn to really embrace everybody in society. We all have rights to live in society. So, Mr. Sidibe, I will give you the last question. I think we are running out of time, which is, what can the government do to help the writing industry? And what advice, I will join two questions, and please, you can just make a quick one. What advice do you have for the upcoming writers in the Gambian society?
All right, so since we are pressed for time, what government can do is, if you look at other countries like Nigeria and Ghana, the creative industry is booming. Why? Because they formalize everything. To become an actor, it has become a profession. Okay, actress, and it is goes on. So, but if you look at Gambian creative industry, even of our musicians, they don't go to school to learn. You don't have a school for music where you learn music. What I know is only Sona Jobati. I learned as he created one, but that one is still a maiden. Still a maiden one, right? So, what government should do is to create industry for the arts, for the industry, that is the arts industry, and even the budgetary allocation. There should be budgetary allocation for literature. What I mean literature is the arts. And when we say the arts, it's across. Okay? It encompasses so many things. So the government can do that one. But there is no budgetary allocation, where there is no loan scheme where writers can get loan, to even launch. Sometimes you write everything. Let's just say you write everything and everything is done. But your problem is to get that monetary stock to even publish your book or to launch your book. You find it difficult. So there should be budgetary allocation. They want to take that area seriously. All right? There is no budgetary allocation. The National Center for Art and Culture, that money is not enough. In fact, they're even struggling financially. Maybe Mr. Hassan Sisi can even attest to this. All right? So that's, I think, what government should do. That's what we need from them. And for the advice, I think I like that area. In African proverb, they will tell you, a fly with no one to advise follows the corpse at the grave. What they're telling you there is
important, very, very creative proverb.
Good. So, absolutely. So, what they're telling us there is every human being needs someone to advise us. All right? Whatever we are doing, whether you know it or not, there was someone before you. Okay? There were people that did what you're doing. Whether what you are doing, they did not do it exactly, but they did something. They set the stage. So at least it's good to have mentors as a writer. A writer should not be doing things by himself alone. Have a mentor, a reliable mentor, or what we call coach. Reading alone, mastering things. You need somebody to guide you, my friend. Some of these things you need somebody, as I said, to guide you. But most of our writers, they don't want to have coaches. Sometimes I think they feel like the coaches do not want them to grow. I face this as a writer. I have helped a lot of people to become the better versions of themselves in the creative industry. A lot of them, but some of them when I start pressing, when I criticize their work a bit, they will be angry. And let me highlight this. As a writer, you have to be patient. Great things take time. I highlighted in my previous discussion that, those famous writers that you see, you hear, and those great speakers, the likes of Obama and this goes on, my friend, they did not come with that fame already intact. There was effort. So as a writer, you have to be patient. It takes time. You have to learn to accept criticism. When they say this is bad, it doesn't mean you are bad. Let me just give you this example. A baby, for example. Creativity is all about, let us just use this analogy. A baby, first and foremost, a baby could not say anything. All right? Even if a baby could say anything or can say anything, is this nye, nye, nye. All right? Now that after nye, 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 later the baby will learn to speak. All right? So this is over time. The baby sometimes will see something and the baby will talk. There is a reason why the baby is talking. Because the baby has seen something. So please, as a writer, you have to be, or upcoming writer, you have to be patient. And you should learn to send your write-ups to those that you think they are very good at their work so that they can vet your work. Because if people don't criticize your work, you cannot judge yourself. My friend, this is literature. And there is no perfection there. People don't understand. Even the best writers, Shakespeare has been criticized. If you read Shakespeare's work, I can mention it, Midsummer Night's. Sometimes he would deliberately not follow what we call the modern English standard, a subject-verb agreement. And this thing is only allowed in poetry. In poetry, we have what we call poetic license. You are given freedom to not follow the convention. But, when you are doing or writing drama or novel, my friend, you must follow what we call subject-verb agreement in law. But sometimes Shakespeare would disobey. So the criticism, the literary criticism from Shakespearean point of view, people will tell you Shakespeare sometimes.
I'm afraid just to leave our time really has.
Thank you so much.
Really, I'm sorry, Mr. Siribe. Our time has really collapsed, and thank you so much for having you. And I think, patient. I can remember There's a quote we say, the patient dog always see the fattest bone. So as writers, we must be patient in our endeavors. It's not an easy task. You will be stuck at some point. And my recommendation is for the government to help young people, young writers. I don't think it should be a problem if an author wants to see a president. Really, these are ways that it should be very easy for authors to see the president, because writing is not easy. Somebody that authored an entire book should be embraced to the highest level, to be cherished at all times. So I think the government, the private sectors, whoever, if you have the privilege, you should help young people, authors that really have that creative mind to put their works in the next stage of literature. So that is our recommendation. The government help us. There is a lot of young people out there. They don't have the platforms to come release out their talents. Let them help them launch their books. Let them help them to really pay the cost of funds when they're trying to really publish their work. And these are one of the most stable factors to writers. They want to be authors, but they don't really have the financial status to support that. So we are really appealing to the government, any individual that have the financial capability. You help young writers for them to realize their potentials in the field of literature. And this comes to the end of the writer's show. And I will send my sincere appreciation to Mr. Sidibe for honoring this invitation. This really is an immense pleasure to Gmeb TV. So, Mr. Sidibe, thank you so much for having you. And please, if this is the first time you really watching this, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and also follow us on Facebook. This is Gmeb TV. Thank you so much. See you next show.
Welcome to Gmeb TV, your go-to source for